Hi, so welcome to the Sew Along 2018 in New Zealand, and this is going to be for block 2 of the Sew Along. And over here I've got a block sitting up on the board here, and I've got a picture of the quilt that we're ultimately going to end up with, so you can see all of that. It's also all on my website on GourmetQuilter.com. So it's quite exciting. My folder is already feeling like it's growing. I've got my block 1 in my folder, and I've got them on each side of the page so that I can look at each one, because it's very exciting to see all these things finished. Today we're going to do block 2, which is going to be these notes here, and the block, as I mentioned, is up on the board there. So I've already cut mine out. I've used the strips that I was suggesting that we cut to cut my background squares, and from one of the coloured fabrics I've cut the other squares. All the notes are on the on your pattern piece that you will have, and then I've got some other squares that are part of the background ones, but we've got to do a little bit of things to them, because to make this block we need some triangles. So to make the triangles, and that all the notes are here on your pattern, just so that you know, we need to do a little bit of drawing on the back of our fabric. So on some of the 4 of your background squares we're going to draw some lines. So I like to use a mechanical pencil. You may of course use whatever you choose, and we just need to draw a line diagonally from point to point that we're going to actually use as a sewing line. Now, because we're going to be trimming off some of it, rather than just waste it, I'm going to suggest, if you'd like to draw a second line ½ inch away. So lay on your ruler, find your ½ inch in from the edge line, lay that line right on top of the line you've just drawn, and then draw another line. So there's going to be a ½ inch gap between your 2 lines, which will mean that we can sew on both the actual lines and cut in between, and we have ½ inch seam allowance, which is what we always like. So we're going to then pair those up with the fabric that we've chosen for our star, and I like to get them all ready, then I can chain piece them through my machine. And then we're going to go through and sew that second line, just so that you can see what I mean by using that. It's not essential for this project. However, some people I know don't like to waste some of those little triangles, and this would be a way of saving them for something else. So I've got my 4 ready to sew now. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew on the long diagonal line right down the middle. So right on the line, not next to it, on it. And then I'm going to feed this next one in, ready to go. So remember, you're making 2 blocks, different fabrics perhaps, same background. So you could do all of them at once. Now, because I've done that second line, I'm just going to sew along that as well. And then I'm going to snip those apart. Again, just leaving a ½ inch or so of thread between, stops things unravelling. Trim off any other threads that are hanging around. And now we're going to cut those. So I'm just going to grab my ruler and my cutter, and I'm just going to place my ½ inch line, so the line that's ½ inch in from the edge of the ruler, right on top of my sewing line on that long diagonal. And I'm going to cut between those 2 lines of stitching, basically, so that I've got this piece and this piece. So I'll do that to all of them while I'm here. Then we're going to do a little bit of pressing, because we like to press everything. So these larger ones are the ones we're going to be using in the quilt, and we're going to flip those over, and we're going to press that seam in towards the coloured fabric, so leaving the light without a seam behind it there. So do all of those that same way. I like to press from the right side and let that just flip over with the iron. Solves getting any little pleats or anything as we press. That can happen sometimes. And they're looking pretty good already. And so because we've done it this way and we've cut these little bits off, what we've also got here now is some smaller half square triangles, which we don't need in this project, but you may find that you need them for some other very important project. Every project is very important, of course. But it just means you don't have to waste them. They're just a little half square triangle which could come in handy. We're going to have some other blocks as we go that are going to have some of these, and you may find that there's some particularly useful use for those. I've kept my other ones from my first block. They're just sitting here as well. So I'm gaining a little collection of those already that I'm sure are going to be used in something sometime. So now back to the block that we are meant to be making. So we've got still one of these coloured fabrics, that's our centre square. We've got our corners, and we've got our little, whoops, get it around the right way, triangles that we're going to be positioning here. And we might need to get that around the right way as well. So it should look a bit like a star, or a friendship star it's sometimes called, or it could just be a little spinning star. It can be whatever you like. So we're now, it's now back to more or less a 9-patch. It is a 9-patch type of block, and we just need to join those patches together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Remember, you're making 2. You could be doing 2 at the same time if you choose to. Now I'm going to add the 3rd square on to make a little strip of 3 squares. Just make sure you don't turn the pieces round as you stitch them on. Now I'm going to press those. Oh, I'm going to cut them apart first. As my scissors, here they are. So I'm going to press these now, and when we've got half square seams in there, they make it a little bit bulky on the edges, so quite often it's a good idea to press away from those because it'll naturally want to sit out from there if you can. Not always possible because some blocks don't really allow you to do that, because we still want the seams to alternate in direction, but it will work fine for this block. So pressing that seam towards the centres there, and then this one again away from the colour. And now I've just got to join those together, and then our block is done. So now that the seams, because we've pressed them away from each other, they will nestle together nicely. last little row of squares on. Back to the iron and press that, and we are done. So I'm just going to press down one and let that next seam flip over, and then again with the next seam. Just keep on pressing them all in the same direction. And there's our block. A great little star to match the other block. So we've done our 2 blocks for block 2, and I'm going to pop that in my folder. Love seeing this folder growing. I'm going to pop that in this little page here that'll go into the folder, and then we'll see you again next time for block 3.